Thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate having some people here. I wasn't sure if I'd have one or two, or maybe the whole room would have been filled, so I just made like 35 copies. So, welcome. This is my first lecture in the series on organizing for success. And why? And I'm just going to the first one. Alanna Pelowski is my name, and some of you know me as Alanna Duffy or Alanna Googans, so now I'm Pelowski, and that's the one that's probably going to stay. So. Why am I doing these lectures? Throughout the years, I've been here for 13 years running the Learning Center at Cotter, and every once in a while a parent would call Mrs. Blank and say, my son is struggling with whatever. And Mrs. Blank would say, well, let's see if you and Alanna can maybe come up with some suggestions and see if you can figure something out. So in the process, then I would talk to the parent for maybe 45 minutes, an hour, just, here's some ideas. And I thought, instead of just the one-on-one phone call, why don't I try to talk at a bunch of parents at the same time? So thank you for coming to hear me talk at you tonight. I hope you go away with a lot of ideas and strategies and suggestions that I'm using with kids here at school. So you're going to hear the same language, the study skills language, if you will, that I use with students. And they may say at home, oh boy, you went to that lecture, I've heard Mrs. Pelowski talk like that. So that's what I'm hoping, is that when we all get on the same page, we all have common language, which I think is important in how we're helping our students be independent and helping them get on their way to their next step in their journey. And we'll talk about why our organization is important. We'll be talking about some materials, time management, a study spot or a place for studying, and some processing. And then I have Melissa Bell with me tonight, and I'll just ask her to introduce herself.
My name is Melissa Bell, and I'm the Academic Center for Excellence teacher here in the junior high, as well as I teach in the Learning Center over in the high school. This is my first year here. I'm doing exactly the same thing she's doing, only in the junior high in the afternoon. And I do the same thing in the morning. This is my first year here at Cotter, but for the last 9 years I've been teaching special ed. So I'm really happy to be here, and I think that all of these things that are happening here tonight are really important for our kids in the junior high, as well as the high school.
I think it's neat too, Melissa's being in the senior high, she can see what the kids need to get to, what the point of using their assignment books is, and why they need to be organized. And you're going to do this one there. So why is organization so important for school success? First of all, I'd like you just to think for a second about a definition. If you have somebody nearby, if you're going to say a definition of what does it mean to be organized, or just think to yourself. The kids know my definition. I'll give you about 2 seconds there. Say something to your neighbor about what is organization. Interactive here. So just to get you thinking there, I'm going to go ahead. I've got a few different definitions that I've pulled off of different places. I've got some from the How to Get Good Grades in 10 Easy Steps booklet. This is what I use with the freshman seminar students. Each one of them has one of these, and then at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, they'll be taking it home and they get to keep it. And if you have a sophomore, they got this book last year. And I've been using this little booklet for about since 2006, when I made a little packet that went with it. And then when we decided to do this freshman seminar, now I'm using this with the all freshmen. So it's very handy. It's quick to the point. It's short. So from there, they say that having what you need when you need it is what it means to be organized. I've also found some different information on Landmark College. Landmark College is a college in Vermont or New Hampshire that caters specifically to students who have learning disabilities and attention issues. And they talk about systematizing. They talk about things are orderly and efficient, to put together into an orderly, functional, structured whole. Another word that you might hear in today's kind of a buzzword is executive functioning. So all these things play into organization. Just as a carpenter needs the right tools, like a saw and a hammer, and basic skills, like how to measure and cut the wood in order to frame a house, students need the right tools, like notebooks and assignment notebooks, and basic study skills, like reading and note-taking skills, to be successful in school. We do know students who go all the way through college and they really don't have formal study skills training. Somehow they've absorbed something and they've made it work for them, and they're successful in school and it works. These students, they have those problem-solving abilities. This allows them to independently organize, and then they create their own systems for organizing, processing, and comprehending. Other students, however, need this direct instruction, systematic instruction in how to be organized. So again, coming back to that common language, if we're kind of using those same words at home as students you are hearing from me. I'd like you to think for a second with executive functioning. Think of an electrician arriving at the customer's home to do work and asking if they can borrow your tools. A lacrosse team runs onto the field for the big game without their helmets or chest pads. Paramedics respond to a 911 call, but leave the first aid kit at the fire station. Is this unacceptable? Of course it is. The electricians would go out of business, the lacrosse players would be benched, the paramedics would be suspended. In order to do their jobs, these people need instant access to their equipment and tools, and so do students. But I still often hear, I forgot my book, I lost my binder, my homework's in my locker, can I borrow a pen? So we've got to just kind of come back to this training for the real world. These habits start to be built up now. I want you to think for a second, how many of you have like a family calendar or a place or a planner or something in your home where you've got information listed? And so, we're there, how do you get to that point? At what point did you realize, I have too many kids going here and there and everywhere and I don't even know where I'm supposed to be? So we kind of get to that point, or maybe somewhere some of you started using a planner in high school. I have college students that come in that tutor in the Learning Center, and they love to see that I make the kids use their assignment books. Man, I wish somebody would have told me to do that when I was back in high school, because now I've figured out that I need that. I need that to help me figure out where to be. And when we think about our kids here at Cotter, they've got 8 periods in a day. From first period to eighth period, there is so much swirling in their heads, and I think even those who have the best memories still can benefit from a planner, still can benefit from that checklist, that to-do list of what they need to do at home. You can hit the space bar again.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay. You can do it again. So studies, organizing is important because we need efficient access to needed materials. It allows more time on task for learning. What you guys are paying for is that time on task for learning here at Cotter. With any students, they're here to learn. Good organizational skills contribute to students' feelings that they are in control of their learning. I think this builds into independence later, that they have that control over how they can succeed. The assignment book, again, coming back to there, that's just one tool. Students should be writing things down, and then you don't have to remember anything. You just have to remember one thing, to look at it. You have to remember to look at it at the end of the day. That's 8 periods of that information. It can be used as a communication tool. Melissa here at the junior high has used it for parents to initial, kind of back and forth, so those messages can be sent back and forth. It's a communication tool for myself. In the Learning Center, and I think you do that, Nace, on Mondays, do some goals. There's a little spot in the assignment notebook for a goal. A goal is just a dream written down. What do I want to teach myself this week? What do I want to be better at this week? Am I going to focus on getting going right away on my homework instead of waiting until 10 o'clock at night or whatever, after dinner? There's some other features in our assignment notebooks, and every Cotter student gets one of these. So there's the spot for the goal setting. There's a whole list of study strategies, managing your time, listening and note-taking. So these are in there, just like a mini course on study skills. There's English skills. There's all kinds of shapes, I want to say. There's formulas for shapes and volume and geometry. One of the things that I like in here also is this list of, you can keep track of your assignments. Obviously we can go right online and we can look at that too, but I always used to play this game with myself in high school that in my high school, if you had an A or B, you didn't have to take the final. So you could keep track of all your own stuff and then kind of know and gauge, okay, well, how much do I have to study and what do I have to get on this paper to get this grade? And, so I was constantly playing with those numbers, and I think kids forget that all those numbers that they earn are their points in their pocket is what I talk to them about, is the points go right in your pocket. So kids can keep track of that in their planners. There's some maps and some other things. I tell them this is your soulmate. Make this your best friend. I tell them to personalize it. Put pictures, put quotes in there. Then if you lose it, it's a little more painful and you go looking for it, right? Not like, oh, I just lost my assignment book, no big deal. Just words that represent you. And I have some of my old ones, and I've got things that I've cut out of magazines, and I didn't bring my own one with me, but So all students have these. If your student may have lost theirs, I do have some extras. You can send them to me or to the office. I think they have a handful extra there. And our next bullet. When I'm filling in the assignment book, I try to train students to use it so it's going to be the most beneficial for them. There is a nice, so like today is Wednesday. Okay, so there's a checklist at the end of the row, but that doesn't really help me if I have to do studying and a worksheet and this and that and the other thing and this. I try to train them to put the space right after the assignment. Lab reports due Friday. I want to review my notes. So there's a little space after each individual assignment. On Mondays in the Learning Center, we take the time to write all the classes, and I make sure they abbreviate, or they just use the first letter of the word, or you can see I did ing inside. So they would have it listed out for the whole week. Then for lab report, that would be due today over on Friday. Then leading up to that due date, it would be do lab, do lab, do lab, do lab, do lab, all the way up until. Same thing if there was a test, say on Friday. On Monday, start reviewing. Tuesday, make sure I have all my notes, start studying. Wednesday, start studying. And Thursday, make sure I know what I'm doing or talk to the teacher and ask questions. I have a system. I use the empty space, or the open space would be not done. I use a partial X, or half of a slash. Half of an X would be it's partly done, which means I have to rewrite it because it's not completely done. And then a complete X would be that something is completely done. And that's a system that works for me. I was very easily able to train Melissa in on that. If I have a student who comes and works on something, we sometimes put an open circle up in the corner. And then as I'm going through things at the end of the day and what do teachers need to get in their mailboxes, if something's not done and a student and I need to sit down and finish, I know not to give that in if it doesn't have the complete X in the corner. So just a system that works for me. And again, this is about finding what systems work for students. And I like the assignment book. Of course, some students have these, or Palm Pilots. I don't even know if they're called Palm Pilots anymore. We've got iPads and all our different tools. These electronic versions are great. Either way, it's a commitment. It's time to being organized. You know, it's the nice thing about the book, it's foolproof. It doesn't run out of batteries. Of course, it gets left in a locker, or left at home, or it's in my car, or in the backpack. But it's that time and commitment to being organized. It doesn't just happen. So that's a big thing. I had one student one year, he was with me second semester. And so he'd been going along all the first semester, and he had finished his assignments. And I said, do you need to go clean out your locker? Or he was done. He said, what should I do now? I said, how's your locker? You want to go clean your locker? You can go let me clean my locker. And he was just floored about, I said, well, why don't you bring the trash bin? If you've got things to get rid of from last semester, get rid of them. Nobody had ever just told the kid to go spend some time at your locker, clean it up, and file things away. Maybe things need to go in the trash. So that was good. And our kids are busy. They come, they have band in the morning, they go right to first hour, they've got lunch, they got to run here, run there, they're back at school at the end of the day, locker grab your stuff, and then they're away at sports, and it's this, that. So this kid just really appreciated, I think, just having that time. So that was a good thing for him. And again, it's that time and commitment. So we're talking about materials here, managing our materials. At the beginning of the year, I suggest color coding things. In my mind, science will always be green. My 7th grade science teacher was Mrs. Komet. She was really into frogs. All over her room there were frogs. Science is green. I don't know. Frogs are green. Grass is green. I don't know. In my mind, it will always be. English is always red. Social studies is always blue. I think that's because of the red, white, and blue in the flag. And that's just what has just been ingrained in my brain. And I don't know why, but if you can, at the beginning of the year when things are on sale, grab a few color code, match up a color for a notebook and a notebook folder. Now they've even got the stretchy book covers, so those are very handy and quick. Attach that meaning to the color, and then it's faster to grab and go. Our kids, if you don't know, they're rushed between classes here, there, the other place. They got their tiny little locker, they're in and they're out, they've got so many bodies pressing into them. If they can just see the red, I'm going to English, and bam, off they go to English. So I think that's a nice way of being quick, being organized. And then they get to English in a timely manner. They can talk to the teacher or ask questions, or maybe they're interacting with another student and they're talking about a question they have on the homework. So I think, just this being organized starts to build in all these other things that can come along with it. Folders, I've trained students to use the 2 pocket folders. So when you open them up, there's one side we actually label, we write right on there that this is the new and current side. And when that's over, we move it over to the old and done side. Then from there, having a system to file things into some sort of a, I have a file cabinet where if the file folder gets too big, I'll take things from the students so I can put them in a file cabinet up in the Learning Center. Some students keep an accordion file in their locker, and let's say they finish a unit on touching spirit, bear, and English. We take all the notes, all the worksheets, any vocab, put the test on top, staple it together, TSB on the front, and it goes either in the old and done pile, or it gets filed into my file cabinet or in their accordion file where they can keep in their locker, or some students keep them at home. So again, just finding that system, finding what works, and I'm sharing these things that work for me. With our notes, yeah. So we're going to talk about notes. There's 2 types of note taking, right? We take notes when we're listening to a lecture. You know, some of your pencils are going crazy. Also, we read from a textbook, and we're quietly at night just reading and jotting things down in our notebook. So that's another piece of executive functioning and management. So that's managing your notes. I encourage kids to have that organized page, put the date at the top, put the topic. If we're learning about dinosaurs, you have that at the top. It will be easier to go back and find our those topics. Or if someone was absent and I can say, you know, can I see your notes from yesterday? You know, you'd be able to find them very easily. There are some different note-taking methods. There's a 2-column. You can just write a line right down the middle. There's the Cornell system, which is similar to having a split down the middle. It's a little bit, there's a column about 2 inches on this side, and that has keywords or questions, and then lots more notes on the other column. Outlining, I just finished outlining with all of the 9th graders. There's mapping. There's mapping software. There's inspiration.com. And just making lists and dashes to help students break down the big information from the little information, or not as big information. Something that I've often said to kids, if the teacher says read page 44 to 45 or 45 to 55 tonight for homework, they're actually saying, you have to listen very, very closely, because they say read and take a couple of notes on page 45 to 55. Did you hear that? They don't maybe say it like that. Read and jot something down about what you read, right? So tomorrow when you come back, you remember something about what you did last night, okay? It's too easy. There's too much going on for them to just read something and, yeah, I got it, put it away. They come to class the next day, there's so much going on in their minds. If they just jot a couple things down, this gets easier over time. They're very reluctant to do it. I know Mrs. Parlin had all the 9th graders last year. She's got the sophomores this year. She's really, really, really encouraging them to make sure they're taking notes. And again, the more they do it, they get better at it. Long-term memory, if everybody would just take your hand and touch your forehead. And this is where I picture my short-term memory, where it slides right out very quick and easily. So short-term memory, if we hear the phone number for Mrs. Bell is 454-2255, 454-2255, 454, and I call her up and then I walk away and I forget it, right? And especially now with cell phones, we don't have to work that memory as much anymore because I just hit a button. I think about my long-term memory as a file cabinet. And there's no file cabinets in here, but you can picture a shelf or a drawer coming right out of my head, filing the information away, and it's going into that long-term memory. So when I'm with the freshmen, it's your short-term memory where it falls out, or it's filed away in your long-term memory. And how do we do that? We have to do active review. I see kids sitting like this. What you doing? I'm studying. And then their goal for the week is, I'm going to study harder. Show me, what does study hard look like? You know, I tell them, I use an example of pushing the wall. Okay, push the wall. Push the wall right over. Let's see. Well, now push it harder. I mean, you can feel pushing harder, right? But it still looks the same. Studying harder, it looks the same. So we've got to find a way to do active review. And I'll have some methods for that towards the end. And actually you'll get to see Melissa and I do a little bit of an active review called stair study. A couple different ways. Actually, I'll just quick tell you a couple. Reading out loud is a great way to actively review. If I'm reading my notes out loud, my mouth has to form the words, so it's a little bit of that kinesthetic and movement. If I'm reading out loud, I'm hearing through my ear what my notes were about, so I might have some clarification and understanding from that. I might rewrite my notes. If you talk to Mrs. Blank, our principal, she'll talk about her the divots or the little indentations in her hands, because she would go home and rewrite all of her notes. And I was telling this to a junior student the other day, and he said, "Oh, writer's bump." And I never thought of it as writer's bump. I always think of it, because it's like an indentation, I think of it as a divot. But I like that terminology, that you get a bump, a writer's bump. Some kids, nowadays, typing. Just retyping their notes. Finding a way to reorganize and type the notes. Teach your notes to the dog. Sit the dog down. Sit down a stuffed animal. Teach it to them. Making flashcards. Some kids really avoid flashcards. Some kids embrace flashcards. And they've got them all over the house. And I've got all these envelopes and flashcards. And I've got colored flashcards. And I've got flashcards that are on a ring. So there's all these tools that are out there. Coming up with teacher questions. Put yourself in the shoes of the teacher. That's anticipating test questions. That's a pretty high-level skill. I know Mrs. Parlin is, I think she had, your kid helped make the test the other day because he was here after school, right? So CJ, she was going to have all the kids make up some questions anyway, and I think she had him there anyway, so he made a couple questions for her. So anticipating what the teacher's going to ask. Looking at the headings in my book. Do I think this would be important? Did the author of my textbook put this in bold for a reason? Probably. So just kind of thinking about and connecting to the author of the textbook, connecting with the teacher. Maybe it's outside of the class, going over the notes. I had a question about this, so that advocacy and that asking. So all definitely active ways to review. The next topic I'm going to talk about is time management. And I think we all struggle with this. I know I do for sure. And again, this is that student that I think of that had nobody had ever told him to just take some time to go clean your locker. Out of my class, go ahead. That was a neat thing for him that he was able to do that. So we need to think about prioritizing what's most important, what matters most. We should put our plans on paper, and we need to plan for sabotage. I often talk to the students, when they're doing their planners, they say, okay, well the test is on Friday, and today's Tuesday, so you're going to, when should you start studying for that? Tonight. They know that that's what I'm after, but how many of them wait until it's the night before the test, and then all of a sudden it's Grandma's birthday, and oh yeah, you have to go. We're all going to Grandma's, and sorry, I know you've known about this test since Tuesday, right? So, there's that planning again. There's that assignment book. So if they've got it, the test is Friday, and they see Tuesday, start studying. Wednesday, start studying. Thursday, make sure I know it, make sure I ask any questions, because Friday's the test. And if, that's where that soulmate, the assignment book is your soulmate. Write down the games. I know the Bears game was on late the other night. Make sure it's done before the games come on. If you need to write sporting events, if you need to write your behind the wheel, Grandma's birthday, appointments, put those in there. You're doing that at home. A lot of you are probably, keeping track of all your students and yourself. So, trying to train them into using that for not just your assignments, but using it for other things also. And there's lots of, if you were to just go online and type up a weekly schedule, if you like to use Excel, I have students in freshman seminar actually fill out, what does a general week look like for you? Do you have a set time for dinner? Do you have, their practice times take up so much of their evenings, but are they finding time for homework, and do they find a time and way to schedule that in? I tell the ninth graders it's about 10 minutes per grade level per night. So that's about 90 minutes of homework per night. Does that mean you're assigned 90 minutes of homework? No, but that's that. Okay, so I don't have homework in Spanish tonight, but this would be a great night to spend 10 minutes going over my words from September, because I'm going to have a final. Actually, in like 4 short weeks, we'll have final exams, right? Kind of doing that active review along the way. Just because my teacher didn't assign something, I can still take a minute and look things over. I can anticipate some test questions. I might look back at my notes again. Not just looking at them, but I might just read some old notes out loud, just so I hear them again and hear what that sounds like. We all have circadian rhythms. This is our biological clocks. It's affected by the amount of light, and there's all kinds of studies about our circadian rhythms. But just starting to think about, when does my kid function best? When do I function best? Am I a night person, a morning person? What works best for my family? I know some students just think, oh yeah, I'm going to stay up really late, I'm going to keep going and do my homework all night, and then there's probably cell phones that start coming out, and then there's not really any work going on. Some students like to come in early, and they get a lot done in the morning. I am definitely a night person myself. I would rather stay up late or stay late to finish something than getting up extra early, and it's just always been my way, and that's how my mother is also, so I don't know if I've inherited that from her. My dad can get up real early, but I need an alarm clock. I mean, I can't understand people would get up without an alarm clock. I wish I could do that. So, thinking about what works best for me, what works for our family. Some students just assume, oh, Mom and Dad are going to bring me to school early so I can do this, but you need to think about how is your studying affecting everybody? Does this work? Do you need to plan a little better so that you're not affecting my day, right? So we need to kind of put that back to the student a little bit. And if you click on the research project calculator, task analysis deals with being able to break things down. Let's see if I drop this. I have here the research project calculator. It's at elm4u.org, and I forget what ELM is for. And I thought I started typing this in. So if you want to just put in religion essay. Task analysis is the process of identifying what needs to get done to finish a given project. If it's a homework assignment, a long-term project like a research paper. To estimate time with accuracy, students need to know the steps required to complete the task. So we have to be able to break it down. And some students just need to be taught specifically, explicitly, how to break down a task. So this is just a neat website. There's a nice glossary of terms, calculator. There's all kinds of nice resources on here. And so if you went to the religion essay, can you change the due date? Push on that calendar and change it to December 1st.
Yep. Oh no, I did not do that. What did you do? You stay over there. Okay.
Okay, do it again. Okay, it's on the 30th, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so class religion, and then click writing assignment or essay, and that button there. Yep, and then create assignment. You just hit no on the bottom. All right, scroll down just a little bit. So here it's breaking it down. Step 1, complete this step by the 17th. Days left, we're pretty much close to where there's no days left. Time you should spend, it breaks down amount of time. They tell you to write a specific research question or hypothesis if you go down to gather. Gather your information. You might need an annotated bibliography. You might need to record notes from sources. If it's a religion essay, you probably need to read something from the Bible. You might have to find a primary source from, say, a bishop's writing or something from a website. So you would take some notes on that. And then step 3, complete this by the 24th. They say to spend about 20% on that. Confirm your thesis, outline your main points. How will I communicate this essay? An essay is usually a formal written document. Prepare the final essay. And I think there's one more. And step 5 is to evaluate if you go all the way down to the bottom. These are links here, so if you just click on how can you improve next time? Right under evaluate, or instructions, yeah. Each one of those links back to checklists, so it's a way for students to break things down. There's a nice quote up there. So just a nice handy resource. And then if you close that, yeah. Oh yeah, you can close them all. Yeah, because it'll open later. So. All right. So then we talk about a place to study. Students like to sit in the halls and talk in the mornings. Some students sit in the halls and try to do their math in the mornings. Some students are sitting in the hall trying to write papers in the morning, and I can't tell you how much activity is going on around in those students, and I just cannot stress enough that you need a table. You need a well-lit spot. You need a spot where you can sit up. How is your brain going to, some kids like to lay in bed and do work. Well, bed, your brain thinks bed is the time for sleeping, so you get more tired there when you're in bed. A writing surface, it should be well lit. Less distractions as much as possible. You should be comfortable. You should have a desk. All materials handy. I often say quiet music with no words. Quiet music with no words. Some students need it totally silent. Some of us need it totally silent. Some students need a little background knowledge. But if their brain is trying to do words, and I'm trying to read words, the brain is toggling. It's going back and forth, and I've done a little bit of reading on multitasking, or what we call multitasking, and there's really not really such a thing. Our brain has to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it just makes us very ineffective and inefficient. So if students have that music going while they're trying to do words homework, it's not going to be as efficient for them. I encourage you to see if they can try music with no words, see if they'll agree to that. And I have lots of CDs that I'd be willing to lend you, and you can try that out. Other handy materials that I make sure to have nearby is a thesaurus, a dictionary, have 3 to 4 colors of pens, have some pencils, eraser, the index cards, again there's that flashcard option, having highlighters, calculator, timer, stapler, scratch paper, a beverage, and a snack are nice things to have handy when you're sitting down to do some work. As I was putting together this presentation, I was also thinking about computers and monitoring computers. From WebMD, I found out that most teens are doing teenage things on the computers. However, we do need to be careful. We need to monitor with them when they're on their computers, because there is a lot of information out there. Lots of not so good information that's right there at the click of a button. Also, students need those critical thinking skills, and hopefully they're getting those in school. But they may need to be told, this website are you sure this is a reliable source? Who put this website together? Those would be good things to ask when you see your students online. And, well, I have to use the computer for school. But question them, what site are you using? Why are you using that site? Who wrote that site? Who put that site out? So there's some interesting things out there if you go to the bottom of a page and find out who's hosting sites. And we need kids that can question everything. So we should be questioning them and why they're going to those sites. Let's see, can you back up real quick? I think back up. Yeah. Here we'll talk about.
This is the last one.
Oh. So lots of descriptions of a good study spot. Type of work, is it something that you need to process, maybe brainstorm, come up with some ideas? Is it something that I can hammer out quickly? Some things you can actually do while you're halfway paying attention to a ball game or watching Dancing with the Stars, right? So you can do some pieces of homework, but students need to think about where's the best place for me to do this homework. We all have our personal abilities to focus or to not focus. I encourage you to have a timer, some kind of an egg timer. Lots of students have timers on their phones, but then there's that, the text message came in from so-and-so, and now there goes my brain toggling to a new activity. So a timer, a checklist, and there's that assignment notebook. My to-do list tonight is my list of assignments, or my checklist in my assignment notebook. Some of us can focus with distractions, some need that quiet. So just talking to students also about their personal ability to focus and what helps them focus. I've got squishy balls and stuff like that that can kind of help one's brain do one thing while their hands are maybe fidgeting and doing another. And real quick, with timers, most brains take about 45 minutes or so for the average brain to tire. Students who deal with learning issues and attention issues are even less than that. I would suggest like 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off. 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 20 minutes on, 5 minutes. That's an hour of homework right there. What do you do in that 5 minutes off? You can go outside, you can play with the dog, get a snack. There's maybe a chance to text. The trick, though, is coming back to the work without getting wrapped up in something new. You can help your student identify rewards for that time, maybe 20 minutes on, and I get to go eat a couple potato chips. When Melissa and I do the stair studying, I'll show you a way to do rewards. And we'll take the next step, which is processing. Oh no, place. I just want to finish out with place here. At school, these are all different places to do work at school. I listed them pretty much by the quietest with the most resources to the noisiest. And of course your friends are resources, but it's also an easy place to say, man, I didn't get that worksheet done, can I just copy yours? So of course that's not going to help students down the road either. So great place, the Learning Center in the high school, I have tutors that come in if we have meetings in the morning. I have a tutor, somebody who's there who can keep the room open. There's lots of resources there. Melissa has some tutors here in the junior high, ACE as well. The Target Center down underneath the theater, the lobby. I see lots of kids right out here in the lobby. It's a little noisy there, but I think kids get some stuff done. And then on the floors by their locker. So you can kind of think about what are the benefits or drawbacks to each place. At home, hopefully you have a table, a desk with maybe a computer. You probably want to supervise phone and computer usage a little bit. Just keep your eye on that. Again, that having that timer. And then having a secondary spot. If my brother and sister are noisy in this spot, maybe I can move to a different spot. And processing. And I call processing active review. I call it study smart. And I call it, these are some different methods for studying, so I'll share some of these with you. Metacognition, I've got a little sign over here. Metacognition is thinking about my thinking. It's a really big idea. It's kind of crazy to wrap your head around, but the way I teach it to students is rank yourself. I have a list of vocab words here for English. So I might start out, before I study this information, this is a long list of words. Before I start studying this, and I know I've gone over it, my teacher's gone over it with me, I wrote them in my notebook, because my teacher made me do that, and she even checked to make sure I wrote them once. But how many times should I see this information before I really know it? How many times until I can use these words? Usually about 7 to 10 times of using words before they become part of our vocabulary. So before really sitting down to study this, I can rank myself. A 3 is, I know this so well I could teach it. I have a personal connection to this word. A 2, so-so. I can identify it if it was multiple choice, but not everything in my life is going to be multiple choice, so I should probably study it a little bit, or a little bit more. And then number 1, I don't know, and if I don't know, and the test is tomorrow, I need to do something about that. I need to ask, I need to process it, I need to study it in some way. Another way I think of metacognition is, do I know that I know what I'm supposed to know? That's kind of another big thing to wrap your head around, but what am I supposed to know? The vocab words. And actually, if you have a 9th grade student, they have this test is Tuesday. So what do they need to know? These words. Do you know that you know them? Have you checked and confirmed to see that you know them? Can you use them as sentence? Can you teach them to the dog? Right? So those are, if you can't rank yourself at a 3 on all of them, then you really need to study them. So I like that way because how many times have I sat down to study a list, and I start at the top, and I get through, and okay, fervent and desire. And then, oh, it's got to be dinner time, and I have to go away, and I come back to my studying, and I'm studying hard, and here I am at the top, and I'm going through my list again, and then I get a phone call, and I'm over here, and I come back, and I start my list, and I'm studying real hard here. And then it's test day, and how many times have I really seen the bottom of my list? I know that happened to me. So in order to avoid that, if we rank ourselves first, if we think about our thinking, we can kind of give us some direction as to where to start. I think about bits and bytes in a computer. Anybody ever try to stuff a bunch of marshmallows or grapes in your mouth or a bunch of gum? Right? You can't chew it. You can't process. Okay, now Mr. Bowden, the biology teacher, they had, let's see, was it 20 pages of biology last week, was it? I know it was 26 in Mrs. Parlin's class. And I think the week before that there was like 20 pages in biology. And this was pretty high level mitosis. So it's not quick and easy, I'm going to just chew it up and understand it. But Mr. Bowden and Mrs. Parlin also had done the same thing. They gave them 5 or 6 pages each night. Little bits and bytes, right? Then, if they do that each little bit each night, is so much more manageable than, it's the night before, it's due, and I got a quiz, and it's 26 pages, and I mean, then you've got a fire. So it's preventing the fire by doing these little bits and bytes. And most teachers are posting on the website, and they have the those bits and bytes. They have those little pieces written down. And we'll do stair studying here. So we would picture, we would either be on the stairs, you can stand right there. So if you have a long hallway in your house, this would work in a long hallway. If you have a stairway, I would go halfway up and halfway down, or if I'm in the long hallway, I would be halfway to either end. At the far end, or at my reward end, I would have maybe a box of cookies, or some potato chips, or a Mountain Dew, whatever reward is going to work for me. And then I have my own list, or Mrs. Bell's just going to quiz me, so I don't have any list. But I could do this on my own, especially if I've made my notes in such a way that I can't see the answers. See, so sometimes I see students who write definitions, and everything's all squished together, so you can't really fold it and have just the answers and just the words. So, I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I am studying my vocab words.
Okay, Alanna, tell me what a flashback is.
Flashback. That's like in that movie Lion King.
Yep.
Simba thinks back to when his father was alive. So I got it right, I go forward.
All right, Alanna, tell me what a paperweight is.
No, I didn't really study this one.
Step back, please.
2 steps back.
Constricting. What is constricting, Alanna?
Well, like a boa constrictor is a snake, and I know it squeezes. So to constrict, or like if I have a scarf on too tight, it's choking or it's constricting.
You're right.
Take a step forward.
Okay. So, Alanna, tell me what a novel is.
Like a book?
No.
Oh yeah, we had to know for English that novel is something new. Okay. So you see how that goes. When I get to the top of the stairs, I can reward myself with something silly or something meaningful. But I can be doing that on my own. Somebody could be quizzing me doing that. And if you click on the word Excel, the Excel document should come up. I like Excel as a flashcard making tool, and you've seen mine now a couple times. So,
Come over here.
oh no, there it goes. So the program Excel is great for adding numbers and stuff, but I don't use it for adding numbers. I use it for making lists. Oh no. the chords. Oh, it's a good thing we only have one more slide. Anyway, I think you get the idea what this is. So. And our kids today, they like to type things. So if they want to be on the computer, tell them, well, type your list of vocab words. I see it's in your notebook. I can't really read this. Type it. So that kind of activates a different part of the brain. A different part of the brain where we're finding a lot of kids have already activated a lot because they've grown up with quick thumbs and hands and fingers, and so they want to do more typing. So it might be a motivating thing to sit and type those vocabulary words. I think I just... Yeah, we're done with that one. And Study Blue I don't think works because this version of my thing is too old. StudyBlue.com is a nice resource. It's a flashcard making program. Students sign on, and they can sign on as Cotter High School students. I have Cotter High School in there. StudyBlue.com. And it's real easy to upload from an Excel document, and they can put that on their iPad. It's a touch thing then. It's just a flashcard, and you just hit flip and do it at the, standing in line at the grocery store or on my way to Grandma's house, and I can be doing some flashcards for my classes. As far as just to kind of wrap things up on organization, we need to have clear expectations with our students. Again, I use the assignment notebook for having goals each week. They have to have academic goal each week, but for their monthly goal, they can have it be anything they want. We need to have clear communication with our students and let them know what your goals are for them and find out what are their goals. Be clear in those expectations. Our counseling office, you can contact Sue O'Brien and Dave Forney, and our Carrie Randall is our new counselor. They have all the college requirements, so as you're thinking bigger picture and down the road, you might encourage your student to go and find out, well, I hear you talking about the University of Minnesota. Why don't you find out what are their requirements? What do you need to be doing now? What habits do you need to form now that you're going to take with you? Because if they're not studying and doing some of this now, they're not going to just show, oh, I'm in college now, and all of a sudden I'm going to really improve my reading comprehension. These are the things that they're doing each day now that they can improve on. I think there might be one more screen. So, and if you click on the bamboo, that'll be the last one, up in the top left. Yep. And this is just a short video. Any questions while it's loading up? If it loads up. My next topic will be preparing for school success. So I was trying to break down how can I get all this information to lots of people, and I've been just trying to think about how can I break it into, I did organizing for school success, preparing for school success, studying for school success I think will be next year. I think the third one is what? Oh, reading for school success, and I get to pull my passion with my reading specialist into one of these lectures later. So I don't know if that one wants to work. Any questions or comments? Any discussion? If not, that's the end of our presentation, so I thank you for coming. And if you want to stick around and talk to us, we're here for a little bit longer, so we'd be happy to do that. So, you got the handouts, and you can find me online. It's apelowski@cotterschools.org. So, thank you.